Well, get ready for Hillary. I hate to put this video out in a lot of ways because I think a lot of people aren't going to like it. But I put out other videos that I knew people wouldn't like, and I put out other videos I knew people would like. The reason I knew they wouldn't like them was because I was calling out Trump as a third-party ringer for the Clintons. It's a playbook right from the Ross Perot deal. Now, I want you to also to examine the 1912 election. I know third parties have won in elections like lesser elections, like for congressman or senator or on a state level or whatever. But in the presidential election, hang it up. It's never even come close. Teddy Roosevelt, I forgot what his popular vote was, 28%, 27%, around there. But even he got thoroughly trounced in the election. Teddy Roosevelt, which is in 1912, this is the actual electoral map. And the blue represents Woodrow Wilson. He took a landslide victory. A guy that was basically never in politics. He was a New Jersey Princeton professor. His main advisor was Edward Mandell House, and Edward Mandell House pretty much controlled the White House through the scenes, not known to the public at the time. Woodrow Wilson was the one that signed off on the Federal Reserve Act, which was passed by Congress in, I think, the wee hours of the Christmas recess. He signed off on the 16th Amendment for the IRS tax. He wrote it. He ran again in 1916 with the promise he'd keep us out of World War I, which was a false promise. And he didn't even finish his New Jersey governor electoral term. He had 2 years in office, and then all of a sudden he's the president. Now, Teddy Roosevelt, I don't think was a conscious player that he was throwing the election to Woodrow Wilson. He was backed by other elements, amongst them U.S. Steel, some of the big money. Taft got totally trounced. As a matter of fact, you might look at it like this. Say we have Jeb Bush running in 2016 on a Republican ticket. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want this to happen, okay? I'm not telling you I want this to happen, but I can already see the major media. They'll tell you, like, Trump's numbers are looking really good. They tell you a lot of little trivia about Jeb Bush. He likes this, he likes that. They totally ignore Ted Cruz, although Ted Cruz is trouncing Jeb Bush. John Evans Bush, Jeb, whatever. Why I don't, he calls himself Jeb because of his initials. The major media is definitely more on the side of Jeb than Ted Cruz. I would like to see Ted Cruz in there for sure. Trump, I don't trust because he has no voting record. He's never been in political office. That's one thing. I know people like to hear what he says, but he says many things. He's told a lot of people many things when he sold them various real estate properties and investment deals. He tells people what they want to hear. So, you might not want to hear that from me, but that is the reality situation. I know that makes my videos unpopular when I tell you that type of stuff. But here we have the electoral vote. This could be the way it would wind up for Hillary if you have, I'm scared to think of this thought. And I know I just put something out about Hillary that she has bad health. That is true. She might even have brain cancer. She has extreme blinding headaches, fainting spells, memory lapses. She's getting tired on the campaign trail. And some of the more, like these gossip magazines will say she's dead she'll be dead in 6 months. But I don't count on that. Don't count on that. The only thing I know for a fact, her health is poor and she's having problems, but that doesn't mean she's going to die right away. I know that's when people saw that video, they're like, "Oh boy, she's going to die." Because I guess my channel has more of the conservative element, but she's not going to die right. I don't think she is. I don't think she does have serious health problems, and there's been conjecture she's not going to make it to the 2016 election, but that's not a guarantee. Nobody knows. And I swear to God, I see the Trump deal as exactly the same as Ross Perot. Like we had Clinton, Bush, and Perot. So now we'll have Clinton, instead of Bill Clinton and H.W. Bush, we'll have Hillary Clinton and John Evans Bush, Jeb Bush, and instead of having Perot, we'll have Trump. And guess who wins? And I definitely know there's definitely enough votes for Trump to cause this election to go to Hillary if she's still alive. I think she will be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm only go by the. I read hundreds of articles, not hundreds, dozens of articles on what her health is. Nobody freaking knows it. Her health definitely is poor. It doesn't mean she's going to die tomorrow or something, or within the next 5 years even. So, I could tell you what we got here is the KGB infiltration of the American youth in the 60s through our universities has basically won. And, if you really want to go over the overall plan of what's going on here, because, it was said back in the 1950s, I think, through, I forgot who that was, Norman Dodd was saying that, he got the information from somebody else, that they planned, even in the early 50s, the elite, the real New World Order elite, planned for the comfortable merger of the United States and Russia, which sounded ludicrous at the time because the Cold War was going full steam. Russia, Soviet Union had just taken over the Eastern European nations, and the New World Order was planning for the comfortable merger of the Soviet, Russia and the United States in the New World Order. And you can see what's going on. We're moving closer and closer to socialism, more controls, and Russia's actually kind of loosening up a little bit, but not really all the way. It looked a little bit more. So the controls will be there. So what they're looking for basically overall is a hybrid form of capitalistic communism. And the people have been basically brainwashed. Anybody who goes to university has been brainwashed. Now, I did go to universities, but believe me, I've not been brainwashed by their bullshit. Not at all. Because most of the core curriculum I took was accounting, and I was a math major with 30 credits of mathematics. As a matter of fact, I used the mathematics credits as my elective credits, which would be, extremely difficult credits to have for that type of stuff, because I just couldn't stand the liberal stance of, and even though I was in a far more conservative university than most people, it still had a liberal stance. I couldn't stand it. I was not brainwashed by the garbage. I realized what was going on 100%. I also realized that even during the time when people were protesting the Vietnam War, it was KGB inspired, but then again, a few of the students did have it correct, that the U.S. was indirectly supporting both sides of the war. The U.S. was supporting Russia with materials and loans that supposedly wean them off of communism, and at the same time, supposedly these things were not to help with North Vietnam, but they were being used to help North Vietnam. But it was a much more complicated story than that. It was actually Chinese were helping North Vietnam, but then again, they were not giving them the best weapons because Chinese would keep the best weapons for themselves and a lot of shit like that. But the U.S. basically did finance both sides of that Vietnam War. A few of the students did figure that out, but most of them just said, "Yeah, we don't want to fight." That's what they said. And that was Bill Clinton, who ran away to Canada, and he later became the commander-in-chief of freaking all the U.S. Armed Forces. To me, this guy, as a person, I probably don't have a problem with him, but the fact that he was commander-in-chief, that disgusted me, because when I was in the military, I hated the fact that he was commander-in-chief. That really bugged the shit out of me. These people, when they were younger, probably didn't know what the hell was going on, but as they went along, they were just total opportunists. And they don't care. But you know what? There's a lot of people like that. These people weren't born and bred into, like I know Hillary was born on Rodham Street. Her daddy was fairly well-to-do. She was sent to college, free of charge. She originally was a Goldwater girl, then she changed and became indoctrinated into the communist ideology. Bill Clinton, I think he actually was raised temporarily by Catholic nuns. I think he was an orphan or something. I forgot. Wait a minute. His real father died, I think, in an automobile accident. I think that's what the deal was with him. Bill Clinton supposedly does have lineage back to Edward VII, King Edward VII, which I do too, which makes him kind of a relative in a way, which is unique thinking, but I'm sure it's not thinking like him. But I don't personally mind him on he's a guy that doesn't piss me off. She pisses me off because she's a person that does not even want to be around common people, and she can only keep up her act for so long. But I think she will win if you got Trump out there pulling votes away from the Republicans, and especially if you got Jeb Bush. Ted Cruz, I wish Ted Cruz would get on a ticket because it would take all the freaking wins out of Trump's sails to run on a third party. Because, most of the people that would be voting for Trump would see, hey, if I vote for Trump, I'm taking it away from Cruz, and it'll give it to Hillary. But if Jeb Bush gets on the ticket, there's definitely be a significant amount of people voting for Trump because they're going to be totally disgusted with another Bush. They'll think it doesn't matter. We want an alternative. And and Trump may pull in a lot more votes than Jeb Bush, just like what happened with Teddy Roosevelt with Taft. And Taft actually was not a Jeb Bush. Taft was actually a good president. Taft was the guy that was stopping the Federal Reserve from forming. Taft was the guy that was going to veto all that. So, I mean, to compare Taft to Jeb Bush is not even fair. To even compare Teddy Roosevelt to Trump is not even fair because Teddy Roosevelt was actually far more charismatic, had all kinds of political experience, was, far more upstanding in character. You're not going to see Trump out there big game hunting and leading up the charge up San Juan Hill during the Battle of 1898. Trump wouldn't be doing that, Teddy Roosevelt would. But, even if we had Trump totally destroy the Republican Party in votes, he still would not pull a very significant amount of electoral votes. It would wind up that Hillary would have the vast majority of them. I know her health is bad. I know she's having migraines and all that type of stuff. And it's more than likely, though, if Trump runs on the third party. I swear, I think that's what it is. It's the same game. It's a textbook game right off the Clinton page of political strategy that they pulled twice already. It's so damn obvious that Trump has been a very, very, very good friend of Bill Clinton's and Hillary Clinton and her daughter. And Trump's daughter is buddy-buddy with Chelsea. Yeah, I don't know. I always thought, when Obama got in office, I didn't like the fact that Obama got in office, but I thought to myself, well, at least Hillary didn't get in office. But to have 8 years of Obama followed by a Hillary is the death knell to the United States of America as we know it. And I can tell you this, one of my strategies is not to give to any political campaigns or anything like that because I think they're all a damn waste of money to give to any of these political campaigns, whether they're fighting Hillary or they're helping this guy or that. I think the one thing that Hillary's going to go for the most and push as much gun control as possible because that is the bastion of resistance against a real tyrannical New World Order where they're really going to put the screws to the people. First, they got to get that. And I can tell you one thing. I'm not in the NRA because I think they're a little... Well, I mean, it's good if you are, if you aren't, but I'm in the Gun Owners of America and have been for years. I think they're more no-compromise organization, although they're smaller. I think they're more effective for the dollar. And used to belong to the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, and I have some of their books about the genocides committed after firearms confiscation has occurred. I think that's one of the main goals of Hillary Clinton, and she would push for that a lot harder than anybody. But you got to remember, she's just one person. She might be dealing with a completely Republican House of Representatives and Senate. But then again, the Republican House of Representatives and Senate, it will be controlled from the top by the elitists. That's one of the problems, but it will be uphill. It will be uphill. Hillary Clinton also, I think, is going to be a person very much involved in the United Nations, and she will appoint her husband to a very high position in the United Nations. She'll create positions. As a matter of fact, her girlfriend, Uma Aberdeen, she had a position in the State Department that was created specifically for her because that was a girlfriend of Hillary Clinton. And Uma was still, even though she was working for the State Department, was still allowed to go about doing her consulting work as a freelance or private individual. And they didn't even look into that on conflict of interest or anything. And I almost guarantee you that Hillary Clinton's not going to be charged by the Department of Justice for the totally unsecure email server, which I think led to the Chinese hacking of all the Office of Personnel Management records, including my records. Bitch. The Chinese got my records, man. It's like they got like it's like a few dozen page file that has everything: where you lived, who your parents were, where your grade school was, everything, not just your SSN, your birthday, every detail about your life, your friends, your family, your closest associates. That's when you go work for the government. You fill out the form. That was hacked into in not just the State Department, but all the government departments. Very, very, very likely through the lack of security on her email server. And the only reason she had that email server like that in a private firm was so she can conduct business that she should not have as Secretary of State and delete all the stuff later on and cover it up. It wasn't just like email server. She basically opened up the whole door to hacking of all the Office of Personnel Management records, which put everybody at risk that works in the government. That's how bad this is. And the Department of Justice, I'll guarantee you, is not going to charge her with shit because they're a bunch of worms. So we're in deep crap. So I'm going to tell you one thing: if you want, if you're more the conservative type, don't even look at this politics shit so much. I'm telling you right now that Trump is probably, even if he got 10% or 7% or 6 or 5% of the vote, that would be enough to swing it to Hillary. But I think if Jeb Bush is on the ticket, which I'm already looking like it is going to be, he's going to Trump is probably going to do better than Jeb Bush maybe in the numbers. But it's going to mean a landslide for Hillary. And people aren't looking at this because you got to look at this 1912 election. Teddy Roosevelt was far better character than Trump. You got a Democratic candidate in the name of Woodrow Wilson, who was far, far, far weaker than Hillary Clinton. Had no political experience, didn't have any kind of political savvy or anything like that. He was just a Princeton University professor that was in the governorship of New Jersey for 2 years, 2 years before the election. Didn't even finish that. Then it went up to, I think he was the governor in 1910 or something, elected to him that year. And then you had the experienced incumbent president, Taft, who basically was not a Jeb Bush or anything like that. It was a classic play. U.S. Steel, amongst other bigwigs, supported Teddy Roosevelt, and Teddy Roosevelt did better than Taft. Taft would have been fine to have as a second term. And that put in an extremely weak candidate with a landslide, which is all this blue. You can see the green is Roosevelt, but this doesn't really reflect the popular vote. Teddy Roosevelt, actually, I think he got 27%. I think that was what it was, 27 or 28% of the popular vote. Totally trounced Taft. Totally. And, it was a matter of Wilson. It caused Wilson to come in by a landslide. So, it probably maybe it won't give this much of a landslide to Hillary, but if Trump runs independent, say hello to Hillary. You got it. And I know she does have serious freaking health issues. That's a fact. I'm not exaggerating that. It is possible she has some type of brain cancer, but that doesn't mean she's going to die right away. She might have a cancerous tumor or something Um, and I know there's speculation that she's not going to make it to the 2016 election, but that's speculation. You know, the other thing is, too, she can win, and you can have Bernie Sanders as VP, and both of them could croak in office. And then you don't even know what the hell you're going to get after that. You know, I don't know. That's another thing. But the fact that she gets in, that would be terrible. Um, you know, one thing I could say, there's a glimmer of hope, though. I'll leave you with this thought. Um, you know, since Hillary Clinton does have some kind of problem going on in her head with, besides having to be a socialist, um, and she does have these migraine headaches and splitting headaches, and she's got insomnia, and she's having even like fainting spells and all this type of stuff and memory lapses. Maybe, 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 this is a long shot, maybe the tumor will grow in a certain way. It'll eat up that part of her brain with all the Karl Marx ideology, and the only thing that'll be remaining is the stuff she had when she was younger, when she was a Goldwater girl. So there's always hope, okay? I'll leave you with that thought so you don't get too down in the dumps, all right, if you've been with me on this long video. So I got to leave you with some kind of ray of hope. Besides her getting hit with a meteor or something, maybe if she's got the brain cancer, it'll only eat up the part where the Karl Marx ideology is. And then she'll be left with Barry Goldwater girl. And then she'll be okay. Then I wouldn't mind her as president. If she was a Goldwater girl, I'd be like, yay, we got the first woman president. I wouldn't give a shit. You kidding me? I have no problem with that. The fact is, she's not too cool, man. Big time, to say the least. So anyway, Obama, and I don't know what Obama is going to pull on his last year in office here. I have no idea, man. I mean, I don't want to play conspiracy drama freak yo-yo over here like somebody's Pastor Lindsey Williams or something, but I'll tell you that it wouldn't surprise me if we have a terrorist attack in his last term. He's out the door, you know. Because terrorist attacks are good things for more control of the people, for the bad guys, you know. Not just the terrorists, but also our government that gets control of us more because there was a terrorist that did something. So all the good people got to obey all these rules, right? So anyway, that's all I got to say about this. I don't know if this will be a popular video or not, but I'm not looking at popularity. I'm trying to tell you what the freaking truth is, okay? And if Trump runs, I just sort of hope people freaking realize what's going on, but I don't think so because they've been hammering the shit out of me every time I've been telling him he's a ringer and he's blowing smoke up your wazoos. People don't want to hear it, and you only got to fool some of the people for her to be freaking in office. That's all it's going to require. So anyway, let's hope the real hippies come back and freaking burn her at the stake because she's not representing the real hippie culture of freedom, love, and peace. She's the evil witch.